There's a reason other countries in this world have banned certain platforms like Instagram and TikTok. Don't frown at it. Don't say, oh, they're not cool. Oh, they're communists. Don't say that. They're standards. I could never go on a platform like Instagram and pretend. So why would a 50-something-year-old man want that? Dude, you've already won. You've already won at life. Country boy with a lisp who, became this phenomenal football player. Welcome back to the channel. And as you can tell from the title, I'm still a little annoyed. I'm still a little bothered by the antics of Shannon Unk Sharp. Again, we don't call grown men Shay Shay on this channel. It's not happening. Now, before I get into it, understand, I'm not losing sleep over Shannon Sharp and his antics a week ago. I'm not. I'm just adding my 2 cents. Why? Because everyone else does. The part that bothers me most with this whole thing is the apparent impact of social media. It's obvious now. It's been obvious for the last decade, but it's certainly obvious now that social media has been the worst thing to happen to mankind. All you entrepreneurs and everyone with hundreds of thousands of subscribers and followers on Instagram and whatever, all you guys who tout social media as the greatest thing since sliced bread, cool. You're entitled. But those of us who feel otherwise are also entitled. And all you have to do is pay attention. If you grew up in the 2000s where all you know is social media, then I can't fault you at all. I can't fault you for taking advantage of the opportunity social media presents. I can't fault you for only knowing how to text or how to respond to somebody on social media rather than pick up the phone. I can't fault you at all. You're a product of your generation. That's you 2000 babies. Totally get it. But those of us who are older and wiser, who grew up in the different eras, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, we know better, or we should. So the part that bothers me about Shannon Sharp is that he is considered a Gen Xer. I believe he's in his mid-50s. He's a Gen Xer. He damn sure knows better. And I'm not subscribing to the whole, I don't know how to work an email, I don't know how to handle social media. That's the narrative he's painting, or that he painted last week. That he pays people to handle all these things. And that's cool. You're rich, brother. Do your thing. But you guys should know better. Sorry, no excuse. There's no reason for grown men and grown ass women to conduct themselves the way they do when you've reached a certain age. On social media, of course. There's no way. Shannon Sharp shouldn't even be on Instagram, personally. There was a time where this was only for the average Joe and Jane. Think about MySpace. Think about Facebook when it first came out. Think about Instagram. Celebrities weren't on there. Rarely. And if they were, so I'll go back to MySpace because I was on there heavy. Early 2000s. Early to mid 2000s. I was on there. And you would see celebrities, you would see their photos, but you didn't know if it was them or not. So most of them had like PR people working for them, advisors. So they were handling their accounts as well. So if you saw, let's just name, because I can't think of anyone else. If you saw Jay-Z on there, I'm sure he wasn't, but if you did, like saw his picture, you weren't having a conversation with Jay-Z if you messaged him. I messaged a few rappers back then when I was doing music, but they were underground guys. So you had a better chance of getting responses, and I used to get a response here and there. But any top tier celebrity, grade A celebrity, if you saw Brad Pitt on there, you're not talking to Brad Pitt. It's not happening. Denzel Washington, it's not happening. So there was a time where it was just for the lower folks like me, a place to engage, communicate, whatever. Even Facebook. When Facebook started, you know what it was. It was for college students. Then eventually it trickled to, an older crowd, to the point where the young people on there just scurried off because it got too old. Your aunties on there, your uncles on there, your grandpappies on there. Peace. I'm out. So then Snapchat comes, Facebook comes, the cooler apps. But these celebrities, these entertainers, these athletes, they weren't on there like that. Maybe they were maybe a few of them were here and there, incognito, but it wasn't what it is now. YouTube the same. Celebrities weren't on there like that. They had their own platform. They're entertainers. They don't need to go down to our levels to communicate. They had their own world. And social media was the world for the regular folk. And that's not the case anymore. And that's when I get a little annoyed when I see Shannon Sharpe and his antics, because, bro, you don't have to do that. You've lived a life that many of us can only dream of. Playing a sport as a career or as a profession, making millions, being in phenomenal shape, having good rapport and relationships with your family. You are living a life that some of us can only dream of. You don't need to prove your sexuality to anybody. You don't need to prove that you still got it in the tank. No one cares. The assumption is you've slept with plenty of women in your lifetime, or people in your lifetime. You're a former athlete. It comes with the territory. So you don't have to succumb to the levels of maybe, the average Joe who wants to prove a point to an ex-girlfriend or prove a point to friends. You don't got to do all that. I remember back in the day in school, sometimes you would hear guys making up stories just to sound cool because you wanted to fit in. You wanted to fit in with that cool crowd. I'm guilty of doing that. High school years, coming up with fake stories. Now, as an adult, no one cares. I'm too comfortable in my skin to have to make up stories. Shannon Sharpe should be 10 times as more comfortable than me. I could never go on a platform like Instagram and pretend or do something to get clout. I don't want all that. So why would a 50-something-year-old man want that? Dude, you've already won. You've already won at life. You've overcome the odds. Country boy with a lisp who, became this phenomenal football player and transitioned into this broadcaster without any college debt. I'm not saying you didn't study in school. I'm saying you didn't go to the extremes that some of these young folks are doing or have done. That can't get a chance. You kind of skated through life. And no one's life is super easy. There were no handouts, I'm sure. But Sharpe won. He won. So to have to stoop to those levels, and again, you could tell me till you blue in the face, bro. Oh, that was unprofessional, and I feel terrible about it, and you knew what you were doing. It was staged. I just don't get why social media has become the be all end all for almost everyone living. Again, I have a relative who can't go a day without a selfie. Can't go a day without posting. Can't go a day without sending me a link. I've got to ignore the links half the time. I'm not interested. Because I remember the world before this. And I remember the world being okay before this. Again, you 2000 babies are excluded. You don't know any better. You don't know the world of calling a friend and not having two-way calling. So just hearing a busy line. You don't know what it feels like to finally get call ID and know who's calling your phone. That was like phenomenal. Oh, he's calling me or she's calling me. Before that, we had to guess who's calling. And I don't care if I'm dating myself. I like growing up. I like being older. Because God knows if I'm 22 right now, I'm in some deep crap dealing with all this stuff. I'm wilding the F out. Like Shannon Sharp. But at this age, when you've become seasoned, and I'm talking about Shannon Sharp now, when you've reached that plateau of being a mid-50s guy who beat poverty, who escaped law, who escaped prison, made riches, played a sport for a living, you don't have to go to those levels anymore. Maybe you never had to go to those levels, but you've overcome the odds. So these platforms they have no regulations anymore. These CEOs are just cashing checks. No one cares. We run with this freedom of speech, freedom of expression, First Amendment stuff. And in the meantime, we lose a sense of reality. We lose a sense of morality. Everything now is it's free-spirited. There are no more rules. The rules nowadays, there's no rules. That's the rule. Do as you please. There used to be repercussions back in the day. You used to feel bad for doing certain things that were taboo. You couldn't throw a chair at a teacher and record it and get cool points. You were getting your ass suspended, probably blackballed from other schools. You might have to join a I don't know if you can say retarded, but a retarded class. Special ed. There was something wrong with this person. Now, we praise these guys. Everything that was wrong is right in this era. And social media doesn't help the cause at all. It promotes it. I know. You're going to tell me, oh, well, it's not always that bad. It's not the platform, it's the people. But the platform enables. It enables. There's a reason other countries in this world have banned certain platforms like Instagram and TikTok. There's a reason for it. Don't frown at it. Don't say, oh, they're not cool. Oh, they're communists. Don't say that. There's standards. There's certain morality, clauses with humanity that you want to acknowledge. And for some reason, us, the US, we're too good. We're too good for certain things. I was sitting here a couple years ago begging for TikTok to be banned. I was hoping it'll be a domino effect. Go after IG next. Go after Twitter, please. I was begging, but they're stalling. They're stalling. Congress or whatever, because people will protest this before anything else. There should have been a march on Washington years ago. Years ago. People don't want their freedom stripped, and they think social media is a part of that, and it's not. There were freedoms before that. None of us knew what social media was. We were hopping on AOL and AIM and all that stuff, and that was fun. It could have stayed that way. So we're just in a different world, and I'm just sad to see old heads participate in the same activities as the young generation. You guys are no better. You're no better. You entertainers who already had the platforms still want to reach to these levels that you don't have to. I don't care if you're 70 years old and you can't get a role in Hollywood anymore. You had your run. I don't care if you're 55 years old with arthritis and you can't run up and down the court anymore. You had your run. You don't have to do anything anymore. You should be settled down now. There's no need for thirst traps. No need for it. I don't care if you're in good shape at 55 years old. No one cares. So, in conclusion, I'm saddened. I won't talk about Sharp anymore because I'm just, I'm disgusted that he was able to get away with it. And again, and this is for anybody, I don't care who it is in that world of entertainment. If you do something like that, there needs to be some type of consequence because it just shows that there are no rules for these celebrities. None. And again, he did nothing wrong. He was a grown man having sex, supposedly. But it's the act. It's the act. It's the fact that he allowed it. He allowed it. Probably shouldn't even be on Instagram. Bro, you don't even know how to handle the account. Why do you have it? He doesn't need it. Don't tell me about marketing. Oh, it's a way to connect with my fans. You ain't connecting with them. You're telling your handlers what to say. That doesn't feel authentic. If if I see you responding to a post or comment, that's not you. So it is what it is, man. I'll get over it. Life goes on. But I'm not happy with this generation at all. And changes need to be made.